Hey guys, it's Lexi, back at it for another review. Today we're going to talk about probably one of the most underrated albums of 2017. That's right. Scissors Control! I am tired of people not fucking talking about it, alright? This is probably, if not the best R&B album. I'm sorry. I had to get it out. No, but really, today we're going to talk about the Midnight Nocturnal. This was a 2017 release. It was highly slept on. So the Midnight is synthwave or dance and electronic music. I know it's gonna already people are turned off, but it's really, really good. This band is from Los Angeles as well. So before even listening to the album, just looking at the album itself, oh, I got hair in my mouth. So visually speaking about the album, it really already puts you into the vibe of the overall record. It's very neon bright and it's like in this car. Going into the first album, it's setting up pretty much a night of like going out in like the big city, going clubbing with your friends, and pretty much this entire album is just one big old like Molly or ecstasy trip. I'm not endorsing drugs. But I'm just saying, this album is such an upper, so to speak. The first track, Shadows, really starts to pick it up. The album doesn't catch your attention right away. It's kind of slow in that aspect. Then eventually you get these really 80 vibes and it's so nostalgic to listen to. God, I don't know, man. Like this album is weird to me. Like it sonically almost doesn't make any sense. You get these really weird like 80s synth pop vibes, but then you get this saxophone, which for some reason I can't help but think of Genesis, like good Genesis, like before Phil Collins was Phil Collins Genesis, you know what I mean? And you get these really cool like drum patterns in the beats. I don't know, just something about it just reads 80s, and like you are really stuck in this time zone, and it's so weird. But it's so cool though, because like you get these really like inspiring and really open saxophone solos, and oh my god. Look, I am such a sucker for saxophone and music, like for some reason. I mean, I played saxophone and like it was my first love in music, but goddamn, the way that they just mesh these two like sounds, it just works for some weird reason. The one thing though that was kind of weird for me, actually not weird, I don't really like it, but the song Crystalline, which is the second track off this album, it does continue the feel, but you get this, I don't know, I didn't personally like the female vocals that were like all whispery. They're just all like, I don't know, it's fucking weird. I didn't really like it. I don't know. Collateral is the one that follows, which is really good. I think the first three tracks of this record kick off really well. River of Darkness, which kind of lost me. It kind of put me in like a weird kind of vibe. I mean, it's kind of a break. It is halfway through the album, but I just didn't like it that much. And then you get the title track after that, which is really cool. You know in those like 80 movies where like the stereotypical dude is like holding up this fucking boombox and he's like standing out in the pouring rain like in his trench coat and shit, and he's just like looking up at this window of this girl he's trying to like really get laid by, and he's playing this really cheesy music like ballads, you know? This whole album is that. Think of every 80s cliche you can think of and it's this album. But it's in a good way. Like it doesn't get to the point where it's cheesy and it's unappealing. If anything, it makes me feel good because I grew up listening to those sounds. My mom, I remember her playing like Janet Jackson and like Jewel and like, she was playing Daft Punk at the time too, and a lot of Prince, and like, so all these like sounds just feel so good, and like you can just vibe to it so well. I don't know. This is their third record, unless you count their instrumentals of their other albums, but I don't really. This project sounds way more put together than their other two before it. They're following a theme in their discography, which is really nice, and I really like the concept, but this just sounds way more put together in terms of their sounds sound confident and they know where they're going. This whole album is just seems It's got some weird pieces, but they fit together in some weird way. But I don't know, it's awesome. Before the last track, actually, Light Years, it's featuring Nikki Flores. I do, however, like the vocal feature in this because it matches really well with the tones that they're using. And then after that is Tokyo Night Train. So Tokyo Night Train is pretty much like after your like huge trip with like all your friends and you're all like coming down and you're just starting to unwind. It's like you're sitting on this hill just outside the city and you're just watching the sun like rise. I don't know. This whole album is more of like a feeling, but not in a like experimental feeling. I know experimental can be hard to get into, but it's not a feeling in that tone. It just kind of sets you in this time frame and you're almost stuck in it. So this album's only 42 minutes long, which isn't too bad. That's a pretty breezy listen. But when I was first listening to it, it didn't feel like 42 minutes at all. If anything, this album kind of felt like it was very strung out. Throughout each song, it's connecting in a way to where all the songs connect to each other. They all follow that same theme that I was talking about. They use a lot of like the same sound. Like they don't like transition to anything different in terms of like rhythm or melody too hard. There's definitely a change within each song, but it's not so significant to where it feels like, oh, it's the next song. I found myself also thinking, when is the song gonna be over? And then as soon as I start to think that, it's like, oh, all of a sudden the album just starts over because I have my Spotify on repeat for albums and playlists. So I was listening to this album twice in a row and I didn't even realize it because the album just flowed that well together, which can be a con too because you don't really get not a ton of variety there, but there are definitely levels to each song that do make each one unique in its own way. So they are trying some interesting stuff on this record. I think the sounds are really neat. In retrospect, though, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the album. I was very happy that this was recommended to me. But let me know what you guys think of the album. I'm really interested. So just like leave it in the comments right there. I'll look at them. I'll read them. Maybe I'll respond. Do a thing. In the description, if you just click below, just below the video, I'll leave some links to some of their stuff so you can kind of check them out. I think overall, I think I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested. I want to see where you guys stand. Also, if you want to suggest me some albums to look over, maybe something I haven't been introduced yet, that'd be really cool too. Like let's really make this a community. That's why I even started this. Like I want there to be like a conversation about it. I don't know what it is, but like it genuinely gives me joy to talk about music. That's all I ever want to do. Any of my friends could easily tell you that. But no one should be a stickler in their music taste. I feel like everyone should be open to anything and everything because you don't know if you'll like it yet. So, you know, let's talk about it. Let's have that conversation.